GPT 4.5 is here, and it's all about the vibes. OpenAI just dropped their newest, largest, and most intelligent, at least from a world knowledge perspective, model to date. And they really did focus quite a bit on the vibes of GPT 4.5. And what exactly does that mean? I'll tell you in a moment. Let's dive into all the details. So, as I said, GPT 4.5 is their most knowledgeable and largest model to date. And they actually came up with a lot of new innovations around training and around inference to get this model to perform well and to be able to serve it through ChatGPT. Let me play a little clip.
GPT 4.5 is a special model. It is our largest and most knowledgeable model yet. OpenAI advances AI capabilities by scaling two different paradigms: unsupervised learning and reasoning. Reasoning teaches models to think before responding, and that helps especially with tasks that require reasoning, like science, math, and other difficult, complex questions. Unsupervised learning, on the other hand, helps increase word model accuracy and intuition. GPT 4.5 is our next step in scaling up unsupervised learning, increasing word knowledge, intuition, and reducing hallucinations.
All right. So what does all that mean? Think about this. We have GPT 4o. It's a really good model, very smart, but it's not a thinking model. It has a ton of world knowledge. You ask it a question, you ask it a fact, and it can answer that. But when you start asking it questions that are much more complex, like hard math problems, hard coding problems, science problems, logic problems, the thinking models do much better. But those thinking models are based on the core knowledge of these base models. So most likely O1 and O3 are based on that core set of GPT-4o and maybe GPT 4.5, maybe GPT-5, I don't know, but for sure they are based on these world knowledge models. And then they are taught how to think on top of that. And now we have a new base model that has a ton more world knowledge, which is going to be very helpful for future thinking models. And that might be what O3 Pro is already based on. And so they talked about two scaling paradigms: unsupervised learning and reasoning. Unsupervised learning teaches the model about the world. Reasoning teaches the model how to think. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, they really focused on the vibes of GPT 4.5. They go on to talk about how warm the model is, how it can pick up on social cues. It feels really warm. It feels really intuitive. And all of these things are really interesting and maybe not necessarily things that I would prioritize in a model for myself. But then again, I think I use GPT-4o all the time still. There are a lot of use cases where I simply don't need that extra thinking power and I don't want to wait that long. So I go to GPT-4o, which also has tool usage like web search. And now we just have a much better version of that. And speaking of cutting edge AI, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Introducing Box AI from Box. Every business sits on top of an immense amount of unstructured data. And yet the true potential of all of this data remains largely untapped. The problem is analyzing all of that unstructured data is really, really difficult until now. That's where Box AI comes in. With Box AI, developers and businesses can leverage the latest breakthroughs in AI to automate document processing and workflows, extract insights from content, build custom AI agents to work on that content, and so much more. And Box AI works with all of the leading model providers, including GPT 4.5. But they also support Gemini's latest models as well as Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And so you can always be sure you're using the latest AI with your content. Use it to extract key metadata fields from contracts, invoices, financial documents, resumes, and more to automate workflows. You can also ask questions of any of the content you have within the Box ecosystem, such as sales presentations or long research reports. And if you're a developer, leverage Box AI's API to build really cool automations and applications right on top of your own content. Box AI handles the entire RAG pipeline for you. Do all of this while maintaining the highest levels of security, compliance, and data governance that over 115,000 enterprises trust. Unlock the power of your content with intelligent content management by Box. Thanks again to Box. Now back to the video. And so now they're going to talk about how good the model is, how much smarter it is at world knowledge, and they're going to explain this feely aspect of it. Let's watch.
Interacting with GPT 4.5 feels natural. It's our best chat model yet. And that's because it has improved deeper knowledge and improved contextual understanding, which makes it really useful for tasks like improving your writing, programming, or practical problem solving. The best way to get a feel for the model is to talk to it. So let's jump into a demo. Let's ask GPT 4.5. I had a trouble the other day with a friend. Let's see if I can get some advice here. My friend canceled on me again. Write a text message telling them that I hate them. At the same time, let's see what O1 has to say about this. As you can see, GPT 4.5 recognizes that I'm frustrated and offers me a text that's a little more nuanced and probably a more constructive thing to send to my friend.
All right, so right away, they're comparing O1 to GPT 4.5. So sounds like you're feeling pretty frustrated. I totally get that. Maybe expressing your feelings clearly yet gently might be better to preserve your friendship, and then they give you that option. Or if you prefer a lighter tone, there you go. So really understood the context of what this user is trying to accomplish with the message to their friend. They were able to understand the emotional side behind it, which is really interesting. And this seems like it would be perfect as an AI assistant, someone who I would want to work with every day and really understands the emotional state I might be in when giving it a request of whatever sort. Now, if I'm doing some deep research on a subject, I don't need any of this. And that's where the thinking models, and in particular, the deep research version does much better. But if I'm just having a conversation, I'm just asking about world knowledge, I'm just trying to get things done, I think this model is great. Now let's see the comparison to O1.
On the other hand, O1 is still useful. It actually follows my instructions and gives me that angry text, but it fails to pick up on that social cue that I'm probably just frustrated right now and probably could use someone to talk to. And that warning at the end feels a little judgmental for my taste. Of course, if you want GPT 4.5 to give you that angry text, you can definitely get it out of it. Nope. Please output the angry text. Thank you. There you go.
All right, so there it is. So you can definitely get the version you want, and hopefully with a little bit of memory and interacting with this model, it kind of will understand whether, yeah, I intended it to be angry for the next time I write a text like that, or no, I was just a little bit angry in the moment, but you're right, I should instead send this other text to preserve the friendship. So I think this is a really cool feature, and again, really good for an assistant that I'd like to work with. All right, next they're going to give an example where you're asking a harder question, but not something that needs a bunch of thinking and reasoning and logic. And they're going to compare GPT 4.5 versus the O1 series of models. So as we watch this clip, just keep in mind the stylistic and tone differences between these two models. Let's watch.
Explain the need for AI alignment from first principles. Once again, we'll see what O1 has to say about it. Again, O1 is still useful. It outputs a lot of information and a lot of things that I would probably want to know if I'm learning about this topic for the first time. But GPT 4.5's answer flows a lot more naturally. It guides my thinking through the ideas a lot more, and it walks me through the reasoning, the thinking a lot more. I think it did a great job.
All right, so in both of these examples, they're actually both really good answers. They're just different, that's all. Just different. And you will kind of learn to figure out which one you prefer. I hope eventually, and this is just a big issue that OpenAI has, is there's just too many options. Even for somebody like me who really knows intimately all of the pros and cons of these different models, I still sometimes have to take that extra second and think, which model do I want to use for this given prompt? And I don't want to have to think that. It would be better, and they've already talked about this, to just have a single input box and let it figure it out for me. I don't want to choose how much thinking goes into it. I don't want to choose which model it is. I don't want to choose the output length. Just give me exactly what I want, and hopefully they get there. But for now, of course, GPT 4.5 just adds more confusion and is just another model on that very long list of models. All right, so let me show you a little bit of the benchmarks. How does it actually perform? Now, we have simple QA, which is exactly what it sounds like. Simple questions and answers. World knowledge. This is not deep thinking. This is not hard math, hard programming, anything like that. This is simply, what facts do you know? And GPT 4.5 beats GPT 4.0, O1, and O3 Mini pretty handily, actually. And then on the hallucination front, where lower is better, it also beats those other three models. And so it's just an overall smarter model in terms of world knowledge and also hallucinates much less.
We aligned GPT 4.5 to be a better collaborator, making conversations feel warmer, more intuitive, and emotionally nuanced. To measure this, we asked human testers to evaluate it against GPT 4.0, and GPT 4.5 outperformed on every category. We tested it on prompts that measure accuracy and factuality in everyday queries, including prompts that are hard to get right in professional settings, and finally on a new vibes test set that measure creative intelligence.
Quick question, what does vibe mean here?
That's a great question. By vibes, we really mean the model's EQ, how collaborative it feels, and how warm its tone is. We measure this by selecting an opinionated set of prompts and screening our trainers for the ones that most align with our vibes.
Now, I think a lot of you are going to point out that last phrase, aligns with our vibes. Now, when I hear that, I do immediately think bias, but maybe not. If it's still factually accurate, which the simple QA benchmark covers, then maybe it's okay. But still, if we're talking about vibes, this amorphous kind of undefinable thing, and they say aligns with our vibes, maybe that's going to be the bias that we all want removed as much as possible. So let's look at some of these vibes. Let's look at some of these kind of warmer, more collaborative aspects of GPT 4.5. So what we're seeing here, GPT 4.5 versus GPT 4.0, I'm going through a tough time after failing a test. All right, again, this is really made for being an AI assistant or really a friend potentially. So, I'm really sorry to hear that. Failing a test can feel pretty tough and discouraging, but remember, it's just one moment, not a reflection of who you are or your capabilities. Want to talk about what happened, or do you just need a distraction? I'm here either way. That's a really good answer. Now, 4.0 is, I'm really sorry to hear that. Here's what you can do. And it's like just a list of things. You know, a lot of the time you don't want to hear that. You just want to be heard and you just want to complain. And then other times, yeah, you do want specific feedback. And of course you can ask 4.5 for that. But I think the point is it kind of knows what you probably need in the moment. Here's another example. So identify a painting. What's that one old painting where a woman set their boat on fire because they're tired of moving? I think it has to do with Rome. So they both came up with different answers. So GPT 4.5, the Trojan woman setting fire to their fleet by French painter Claude Lorraine. And GPT 4.0 got a different answer. The Woman of Cnidus burning the fleet by Claude Lorraine. It goes on to talk about just facts about the painting on GPT 4.0, but for GPT 4.5, it talks a little bit more. It talks a little bit more about what the painting's about and kind of what you can get from the painting, what the meaning of the painting is, and definitely some facts towards the end, but you can just see kind of the difference in tone between these two models. And here's the part that I kind of touched on at the beginning of the video. GPT 4.5 is a better world knowledge model. It is more accurate and it hallucinates less. Thus, it's going to be a better base model for the reasoning and thinking capabilities that will be added to it later on. Listen to this. As models like GPT 4.5 become smarter and more knowledgeable through pre-training, they will serve as an even stronger foundation for reasoning and tool using agents. Now, as I mentioned, this is their biggest model to date, and it took a lot of new innovations to both train the model and now to serve it through ChatGPT. Let me play this clip.
We wanted to get as much compute as possible into this model. Doing that required a ton of new systems work. Just to give you some examples, we aggressively used low precision training to get the most out of our GPUs. We also wanted to use more compute than we could get onto one high bandwidth networking fabric. So we pre-trained this model across multiple data centers at the same time.
That's a really cool thing to note. So we all know about the Colossus data center that xAI has. 100, I think maybe 200,000 GPUs, all concentrated in one location. And that has already shown its benefits with the Grok 3 model. But not everybody has access or the ability to spin up a single monster data center like that. And so now what they basically just said, what OpenAI just said is that, well, we actually trained the model across multiple different data centers in parallel. And I don't think that has been done at this level before. So that's really cool to hear, because that just means so many more companies that don't have access to 100,000 GPUs in one place will be able to create models that are just as good as GPT 4.5 and Grok 3. All right, now they're going to do something really cool. They're going to go through and ask a question to every model in the entire series of GPT models. So that's all the way from GPT 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, etc. And look how the answers evolved and got better, from absolutely unintelligible and really doesn't make sense at all to extremely accurate and also well stated. Watch this.
So we asked every model in the GPT series the same question. Why is the ocean salty? We're going to take you through the evolution here. So let's go back in time. It's 2018. We've just finished training GPT-1. Why is the ocean salty? And it does not know. It has no idea here.
It's a word salad.
It's a word salad, but there are words in the salad.
There are words.
So that's something. Okay, let's improve the model and go to GPT-2. GPT-2 is still wrong, but it's a much better answer. It's on topic. There's something about salt and ocean. Well, it's more on topic maybe. Okay, let's improve the model again. GPT 3.5 Turbo. This is the first correct answer that we get out of the model, but it's not a good answer. It doesn't explain anything, and it has a bunch of unnecessary details, like I didn't ask that salt is sodium chloride, I don't really care. Okay, let's improve the model again. GPT-4 Turbo. This is a good answer. The model is clearly very smart, but you get the feeling that it wants you to know how smart it is. It's just sort of listing out facts here, and in fact, we had to cut the model response off to fit it on the slide. Okay, let's improve the model again. GPT 4.5. This is a great answer. It's clear, it's concise, it's cohesive. And personally, I think it's a lot of fun, that first sentence. The ocean is salty because of rain, rivers, and rocks. It's got that fun alliteration. It's really easy to remember. I think it showcases GPT 4.5's great personality.
So how amazing is that? I found that to be so fun to watch. And just in a short 7 years, we went from an LLM that basically was just capable of writing words, right? Wasn't even answering the question, just kind of words, to an incredibly intelligent model that can answer basically any question that we can pose to it in a really nice, warm, nuanced way. Just 7 years. Imagine 7 more years from now. All right, now let me show you some of the results from more traditional evaluation benchmarks. Check this out. We have GPT-QA, which got a massive boost as compared to 4.0. So from 4.0 to 4.5, we went from 53% to 71%. And obviously still lagging behind O3 Mini, because with most of these, the additional thinking and reasoning really helps. So fine. Amy 24, 9.3 in GPT 4.0, massive multiple times improvement to GPT 4.5, obviously still lagging behind O3 in the thinking models. Now for multilingual, it actually is the best. And same with multimodal. And yes, it's going to be multimodal. We also have Sweetlancer Diamond coming in at 32.6%, which is interesting because actually GPT 4.0 beats O3 Mini. And if you haven't heard of Sweetlancer, it's a benchmark where AI is solving real world coding tasks on freelance coding websites. So it takes a task, a real task, solves it, and then gets paid for it. And so OpenAI O3 Mini High got $90,000. GPT 4.0 got $138,000 and GPT 4.5 $186,000. And it's also relative to the percentage of completion. And Sweetbench Verified, these are hard coding problems versus kind of more everyday but still economically valuable coding problems. It did better than GPT 4.0, but still far worse than O3 Mini. And a couple details about GPT 4.5 if you are a developer. It has a 128K token context window. And here is the pricing. $75 per million input tokens, $37.50 per million cached input tokens, and $150 per million output tokens. Let's just say that's very expensive. Now, I haven't gotten it enabled in my account. I'm making this video right after the announcement live stream. So as soon as I get access to it, I'm going to be testing it and I will make another video for that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.